Hey friends, welcome to another library haul. We have tons of books out. So officially now there are 3 library card holders in our family, which means that we can check out a total of 75 items at a time. We're not even close to that right now, but I feel like our stacks are growing. So I think I'm gonna switch things up a little bit. We have checked out some of this series by Louisa May Alcott. We really liked the covers on these editions. And I actually found them on Book Outlet for like $3 a piece. And so we bought the whole set and we decided to skip Little Men and Joe's Boys until we've gone all the way back to the beginning and started over with Little Women and moved our way through. So I can't officially give you my like whole opinion on the books. Rereading Little Women, it's been a few years for myself. It's interesting because there are some things that I'm skipping over reading it out loud to the kids, and so the jury's kind of out on whether or not we'll end up keeping them, but I do really appreciate the moral aspects and the character building that happens in the girls as they're growing. They've got a really solid mom, and yeah, so it's been fun revisiting that book. Then I have, let's see, what else? The kids spotted these Ponies of Chincoteague books. We started with this one, which was number 1, but I quit it not even halfway through. The kids lost interest and the character was extremely, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, but essentially she thought that she could solve the problems she was facing on her own and that she shouldn't share with any of the adults in her life or even with her close friends. And that's just not the type of character that we want as an influence in our literature, you know? Let's see here. I also checked out... Okay, all the rest of these chapter books were just for myself. I am continuing this Vanderbeekers series, and I'm really enjoying it for myself. I would not read it out loud to the kids at this point. There's a number of reasons for that. I think that it's a very wholesome story in general. But there's just some aspects of the way that the family views life that I don't want influencing my extremely young kids. So I'm able to read it as an adult with discernment and, you know, take and leave. Yeah, but I'm enjoying that one. This, Pictures of Hollis Woods, is a story about a girl who's gone through foster care and then finds a forever family. By the same author, I'm reading Genevieve's War. This is about a little girl in France during World War II. Also by the same author is A Slip of a Girl, which is about a girl and her family during the Irish Land Wars, which was very interesting. I knew about nothing about that. Partly why I love historical fiction is getting introduced to parts of real history that I didn't know about, and you kind of absorb more of the facts, I feel like, through a fictional story, even actually through a true story, but stories in general. I just feel like you absorb more of the details of things like history and stuff. This one is from a series that I actually plan on purchasing for my kids at some point, and so I was really thrilled to see it on the shelves, and I decided to just start with this one and see how it was. It was actually a really interesting read. I have a friend who opened an herbal apothecary shop, and this book was just reminding me a lot about her. And then we'd been in a used bookstore the other day, and I noticed this title on the shelves, and I looked it up and thought, maybe that would be interesting. It was a very intense read. It's about a foster family and the kids that come into their life and sort of their journey from little kids all the way to adulthood, and partly how that helps bring the mom out of a lot of the trauma that she's faced in her past. It was a lot of very crude language, a lot of swearing, definitely adult fiction. Yeah, but all in all, I thought it was a very moving story. Noble's looking at one of our little board books. We checked out this one because it's the last one in this series that we currently don't own, and I really liked this one. We're definitely gonna have to pick that one up at some point. Then we checked out a bunch of these from the Good Book Company. We've checked these out in the past. Though they're all on Bible stories, these aren't books that I particularly like reading again and again. And so I don't plan on ever purchasing those, but I don't mind at all when the kids want to check them out over and over again. And then I ended up picking up some interesting books that I thought perhaps the kids would enjoy just looking through. We didn't do any of the projects in these, but these were kind of, I'm saying these, I'll show you what I mean. These are books that I checked out mostly to just take a peek inside of and see if I would want to purchase them. So this one was extremely interesting, and there's actually a part in here that I was already like, oh, I want to do that. Not tie-dye per se, but they used avocado skins and pits to make this natural dye, and I thought that was really beautiful. Yeah, so they have heritage skills, fiber arts, woodworking, tinker, build, and play, and this woman has been spending years and years and years in schools educating kids on these like crafts. So anyways, I just found it really fascinating. Let's readjust her so that I can nurse and film. When I'm going through books like these, I like to look and see if there's any sort of like worldview being shared through them, or if any of the crafts have a like spiritual aspect to them, or if I look through and I recognize like, oh, there's a dream catcher in here, that is something that I am not comfortable with bringing into our home, or even having available for the kids to peruse. Not because I won't be educating them and teaching them and like strengthening their discernment for going through books like that on their own and recognizing when something has a spiritual connotation to it that is not about worshiping God. But because it's just not something that I want to have in our home all the time. And then similar to that, I checked out How to Be an Explorer. And this one also, I looked through it with the same kind of critical eye. In here, there's a lot of cool stuff, survival techniques and reading a map, making a wild map, taking smart risks, first aid in the wild, making cordage, knots, like all sorts of really cool stuff. But then throughout it, there are these little pockets of like a little biography on somebody who was a famous explorer and sort of like their timeline and different things like that. So this is where my critical eye is going to come in this book, because I'm looking for any mention of like an evolutionary theory or why it is that the person is being lauded as a great explorer. Yeah, so anyways, that's just stuff that I kind of look carefully for when I'm looking through books, especially ones that I'm considering buying and adding to our home collection. Then we checked out a bunch of the Billy and Blaze books. Again, we've gotten these out before, and we'd really like to purchase them. They just, if you've never seen inside of them, they're all just filled with these really simple illustrations, and they're all very just sweet, wholesome stories. But one of my favorite aspects about them actually is that they're little boys in the story. So often you only see little girls in stories, especially about horses, and my son is actually extremely interested in riding horses, and so yeah, I just like getting to read those to him. And we have this Black Beauty book, which I originally thought was going to be a sort of like one of those books where it just shows all these different like real in history items and things like that, just to give context for the story. But it actually is like the story, like there are chapters in here, and it does go through the story of Black Beauty, but then it also is showing like the historical literal aspects of different parts. Like here you have the burying rain and what that would have looked like and different things like that. So there's some pretty neat stuff to peruse through. We have we started reading through the full chapter book of Black Beauty before, and the kids had kind of lost interest, and then this one sparked it again. We read through part of it and then they just lost interest again, and it's just not something that I'm interested in like forcing, but yeah, if they circle back to an interest in that, I'm totally willing to check it out again. This is a sweet little story about a family, mostly daddy and daughter, doing chores super early in the morning in the barn, and then one night going out and finding a new baby in the barn. Let's see. The illustrations are beautiful. We really enjoyed this one. It's just simple, sweet, wholesome, farm life. I like all that. So that is one that we would probably like to own. And then this is a repeat read. Naomi is loving this book. And it is based on a real woman's story. Let's see if we can find her. Let's zoom back out, huh? Based on Sylvia Townsend's real story and how she wanted to become a ballerina, couldn't afford to take classes, and then a bookmobile came to town and she checked out books on ballet and learned, basically taught herself how to do ballet. And then a teacher of hers wants to pay for her classes, and then they go to all these different classes and she gets denied access to them because she is Black. But her and some other girls end up doing a performance at school, and then she gets introduced to this professional ballet teacher, and she gets the opportunity to join this professional training group. And then she goes on to become a ballet teacher herself. So that's a sweet book. And then we have this DK Food Like Mine book. It essentially goes through and it features all of the most used grains. So rice, wheat, corn, and potatoes. I guess that's not all grains, is it? But like staple foods is what I mean. And then there's a little bit at the end with some dairy and a few other things. So it's neat. The kids have been looking through this one a lot. It starts with like a kind of overview page, and then it does get into a little more specific and like some differences, and then highlights like some different countries, recipes and things, and then it goes into like some actual recipes. And so that's an interesting book. I'm not a big fan of DK books, but I know a lot of people love them. And then we checked out If You Lived Here, which is one that I've almost bought without looking through before. The illustrations are very interesting, and I know this one is recommended in like the On Mission magazines and things like that. But honestly, you would think this would be more our cup of tea than it was. Our kids were not very interested in it. I don't know if it's just the illustration style or the fact that it's mostly facts. I don't really know. It just wasn't really our cup of tea. So I don't think that we would purchase this one. But maybe we'll check it out again sometime. So that was exciting. We made it through though.